Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Man Mouth, caffeine and all. Definitely had a fair amount of that considering what I've been going through all day today, but no big deal. It's all good. But meanwhile, we have a very different episode tonight, but it falls into my wheelhouse of what I really like to do. Any time I come up with a title called Flying Bats, it's worth sticking around. But before we get into that, I want to let everybody know the Sports Exchange being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, no problem. Give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X @TribuneSouth. Katie Ebley is behind the scenes. And my book has finally hit Amazon, folks. Lessons from the Microphone. All right. Showing the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. So call me an author, call me whatever you want. At the end of the broadcast, you might find something you really want to call me, especially when I'm about to hit my crew with now. But before I go ahead and get onto that first subject, let's introduce the crew. Jake, the pundit's pundit.
What's going on? And just like bang the drum slowly, I'll call you Arthur instead of author.
Okay, well, I've heard Scooter, I've heard a lot Duke, I've heard Scoop, I've heard it all. So what's Arthur? Who cares? But you didn't have to call me Ray. Everybody's heard that one, right? Okay, that's bad. All right, Jake Corn.
All right, guys, good to be back on with you all. Looking forward to the show.
All right, and JB Ellis.
What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing all right. He's cooking up some good stuff here, right, JB? We got some good things that we're going to be working towards. Announcements will be made in the future. All right. And last but not least, Big Mike.
Evening, guys. How's it going?
All right. Well, I wasn't kidding around about this. When I saw this, I knew I had to lead off with it. So last night in college basketball, Nevada's Wolfpack season opener against Sacramento State was temporarily delayed in the second half due to bats invading the arena. The incident occurred with 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the second half in the middle of a 12-2 run by the Hornets. That being the Sacramento State Hornets, before the action was stopped for several minutes. Now, after the delay ended, Nevada closed the game on a 17-6 run to beat Sacramento State 77-63 in year 5 of the Steve Alford era. This isn't the first time that bats have entered Lawler Event Center in Reno. In 2017, several bats took over the arena, and the Nevada Department of Wildlife confirmed at the time there could be up to 30 bats living inside the arena. My goodness. You know what? I have no choice but to start off with Big Mike on this one.
Well, go figure. And funny enough is I kind of had a feeling what you're talking about because I have friends that are actually trainers on the team and said they'd never seen anything like it. It's funny is knowing the history of Sac State and how they find ways to lose games over the last 5 or so years. This doesn't kind of surprise me, but it does tell you that college basketball, I think more than anyone, is a momentum shift. If you can do something to break the momentum of a game and get it rolling the other way, hey, bats in the belfry, the lights going out.
You killed my joke.
Yeah. Oh, man, sorry. But, the lights going out, whatever it takes. But, I mean, the fact that it happened against Sac State, I would say is not surprising to anybody who resides in the area and watches them play. So, hey, good on the Wolfpack for figuring out a way to bring the wildlife into the game and throw a monkey wrench into what Sac State was doing.
I mean, when I saw this, there was no way I could avoid leaving this thing off. I have to go by the pundit's pundit theory. Yeah, Sports Exchange has a magazine feel to it sometimes, and with this topic, it certainly mentions it. All right, JB Ellis, what are your thoughts on this one?
We've had bee swarm games and delay them. We've had bats now. We've had, power outages, rain, but the bats, I got to say, is going to be the most interesting one that I've seen so far. Just odd. And it's not the first time it's happened, as you said, which I found interesting. You would think that they'd find a way to relocate the bats.
Okay, George.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, JB. I mean, you bring in the people from natural resources there in the Reno area, and try to catch them, try to release them to the outdoors. Something should have been done about that. My only bat experience was a vacation up in the Upper Peninsula. We rented a cottage, a cabin, if you will, a set of cabins was out in the wilderness up in Michigan's UP. And lo and behold, there was a bat or two. As soon as we brought our stuff from our car into the cabin, oh my God, scared the crap out of everybody in my family. So I've experienced those bats once before, but never at a sporting event. Never like that. It's a wild story, a wild game, Scott.
Yeah.
Could you just see George like John Candy out of The Great Outdoors with a net running around the cabin trying to catch this bat? That popped in my head. I could just see George running through trying to catch the bat in the fishing net like John Candy.
I'm seeing him hitting Scott Morganroth in the face with an oar while he's trying to get it.
Yeah, no, I
That's
kind of like to
great.
leave that alone. I got enough problems with my vision these days, so let's leave that
Well,
alone.
that might fix it. Or
No,
Oh,
Jacob, you're going to need a whole lot more to fix my vision than that. Try again, pal. But now that you're talking here, you can go ahead and give me your take on.
I mean,
bat
here's all I can
situation.
think. Here's all I can think. Da 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 da. I mean, you're looking around and seeing if there's a spotlight. That's just the whole thing. Seeing if there's a reason. But we've had 1,000 of these things over the time. And here's my question to Steve Alford. You're a Bob Knight guy. Why didn't you just take a couple of chairs and throw them? Maybe you'll hit a bat.
Good.
I mean, seriously. But, I mean, remember, San Antonio, 1994, had that big old shooting thing of water that went off right on the thing. And it's like, see, back in the day when people didn't look to be victims, they actually just, ran for their lives. Now you'd have a couple of people, getting thrown down the stairs or throw themselves down the stairs so they could sue. It's like, darn, I'm surprised they didn't try this with bats. It's just such a weird situation. But I mean, who knows? Maybe we're going to go somewhere else, like in the FIBA, with the FIBA, let's see, the international basketball, and we'll see hornets, or we'll see moths, or we'll see, and it's going to look like the end of the world.
Yeah, but bats are bats.
Well, you know why they couldn't remove them? Because bats have rights too, guys. That's why they're still in there. You can't remove the bats because the bats have the rights to remain in the building.
No, absolutely.
Of course they do.
Evidently, they seem to have taken ownership of the building. Anytime somebody could bring a Bobby Knight reference with Steve Alford, we'll leave it at that. But anyway, here's a topic that was intended for pundit, but because of the rule that I have, that you have 2 weeks, okay, to put it on pundit. No, that doesn't matter. We put it on the Sports Exchange. This is the big show here, okay?
Yeah.
There you go. But according to, nothing against pundits, it's a great magazine show. We do what we got to do what we got to do. But according to Fox 2 in Detroit, should student athletes who attend Michigan high schools be allowed to make money off their name? A bill that would prohibit schools from preventing students from profiting off their likeness just passed the Michigan House, clearing the chamber by a 66-43 vote. All right, you know what, Jacob? We're going to go around with you. What's your take on this?
Say that one more time.
Okay. According to Fox 2 in Detroit, should student athletes who attend Michigan high schools be allowed to make money off their name?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes.
Because they said
absolutely yes. Because the reason I'm saying, and I understand what you're saying there, Mike. I'm sorry, I'm not to get off your lawn yet. No, the issue I have, and it's by anything else, it shouldn't be. By anything else, by any of that kind of stuff, by anything we should be saying, no, it shouldn't. But we're going to say college, high school, any of those things. They always did back in the 50s, 60s, all those times. There was the promise of you're getting yourself the education, you're getting this, you're getting your cafeteria, you're getting all this stuff like that. Now, so many people are making millions off of them.
Right.
They are, because the high schools are on ESPN now. All the high schools have their own feeds. I was talking to people, by the way, JB, about our little idea for high school shows, and they were saying it's going to be interesting because, I mean, wasn't just our guy from our meeting, it was other people saying that they've got their own feeds that's going to make it tougher for us to get that. I'm just saying, there's the little things there, so everybody has a chance to make money off of them, and they're not making that. If they're going to do that, I am absolutely going to believe this, because because you want to know the biggest thing, they're going to everybody overcorrects themselves in this country. They overcorrect it. And all of a sudden, you're going to see millions upon billions upon everything and still no money for the kids. And there are a lot of kids, regardless of how terrible they are with spending the money, there's a lot of kids that would be using that money to help their families.
George?
Absolutely not. I do not want it at the high school level. Listen, there's plenty of jobs out there for the kids to make a little side bet. They could do a cashier at Walmart or a greeter at a Meijer department store. I mean, there's so many jobs. Listen, I had a newspaper route. I did sell newspapers in front of my church every Sunday and made some money that way. And then I worked at a bakery one summer. So, no, because there's enough competition in high school among the kids. Okay. And then, so what are you going to do? You're going to have name, image, and likeness. And just, some of the big shot kids are going to be able to take advantage of it. The stars of the team, or can the basketball team do it? But boy, I'm on the swim team and there's nothing there for me. I mean, bowling teams. I mean, come on. We got enough issues right now with the college having it, let alone the high school level. I'm dead set against it, guys.
What about you, JB?
Listen, everyone else is profiting off of these players, whether they're peewees, college players. If someone wants to pay them to use their name and their likeness, that's fine. It's called the open market. Why should the schools make the money? Why should the organization, in New York City, it's the PSAL or the CHSAA, the Catholic High Schools Association? Why should they make the money? Why are they better than the athlete or the athlete's family? If someone's willing to pay them for it, let them get it. We're already doing it in college. Why shouldn't they have that right to make that money? It just doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that they're going to make money, but if someone wants to go out there and pay them, their local supermarket, their local whatever, the local car dealership, because they feel that some 14-year-old could get people into the door, let them make the money. It doesn't make sense for them not to.
Okay. Mike?
So as much as I absolutely detest the idea of it, I see both sides. Well, the reason I detest it is because now you're going to take a high school sport, which the competitive balance in high school is already shifted to private schools as it is. So the problem is now you're going to open Pandora's box for recruiting and violations as far as crossing. For me, it's a competitive balance thing. Now, what you said, JB, I completely get. Some of these schools are making money off of it. The problem I also have, and I see this, is opening a can of worms, unfortunately, with some of the parents of these athletes, because most of these kids are minors. The money's not going to them. That's the problem I see with it more than anything, is if you get if the guy wants to pay the kid, that's great. But the problem is anything over, I want to say, is it $6,000 a year, has to go to the parents. They can't pay the kid directly because they're a minor. It has to go into a trust or a fund. So the problem is, I guess to me, I'm looking at it from a glass half empty. I'd rather have the kids, hey, look, here's what we're going to do. You're going to get a great scholarship. You're going to get a little bit of money so you don't have to have a side job. Okay, we're going to pay you something. But I think it opens the door for some of these parents to get their hands on this money, and I guess you can go give the kid a choice at that point. And like I said, the other thing for me is it just leaves the door wide open for recruiting and taking the competitive balance away from teams and making it basically because in California, the only teams that can recruit under California law are private schools. A public school gets caught recruiting, and the public school gets banned from all postseason play for a minimum of 1 year for their first violation. So I don't know Michigan's rules. I don't know their public school rules. So I guess the only people that are going to benefit would be the parents and the private schools. And unfortunately, I'd rather just keep it the way it is. Hey, look, get through high school, and when you get to the college and the big name program, you're going to get paid anyways. I get it. Some of the kids' families are impoverished, and this would help them out. But I almost just think this causes more problems than it solves.
Yeah, my take is go both ways, but for some crazy reason, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, again, every state operates differently. You're talking about you also have to factor in small town America too, because you know what? That's the biggest thing of this whole thing. We know about the big cities, what you're going to do, but small town America is the intangible factor. These small towns don't have anything except high schools. So if they're willing to give them a piece of the action, whether it's $6,000, so be it, And you got to wonder with every state anyways, okay, are some schools recruiting anyways? I believe the last time I was at Lakeland High School in now White Lake, Michigan, but Milford, that one of the gym teachers who I knew, there's recruiting going on anyways. Some of these schools are located within a mile or two of each other anyways, around borders like for example, Walled Lake Northern is really close to Lakeland. So I have a feeling there's recruiting going on anyhow. I don't have a problem. I understand where it can get out of control, but I think you have to look at it during a case-by-case basis is really what you have to do. But don't forget, small town America, these kids are stars in those communities, okay? They've been gone to college. And that's where I think that when you put it all into perspective, okay, that's why this topic is really something that I know is a free-for-all forum here and one that's worth talking about because you don't know what neck of the woods you're improving and what state's going to do. I remember years ago that when Michigan started the seatbelt law, everybody followed suit. So again, when you're talking states governing certain things, cities, but again, I don't have a problem. If the kid's going to draw the high school money, well, they should get some of the action. How much? I don't know. And I'm not even going to get into the deeper math. It's just a principle that I think they should get some. I worked a job many years ago when I was in high school in the kitchen at a local Greek restaurant, and I worked a lot of hours cupping with my responsibilities at WXYZ Radio with George. So I was able to, as producer for our radio show, right, George? So, we balanced them out. I think the best thing I ever did was working with Icorn because obviously, to me, it's taken me a long way, but I enjoyed working in school. But remember one thing, if I had athleticism and I wanted to play ball, I was going to do it, but it just never was meant to be. I was never meant to play sports. I ended up writing, talking about them. So, but it's certainly good to get a wide range of opinions on this. All right. Well, obviously we know about the big news of the week. So I want reactions from each of you to Craig Counsell's 5-year, $40 million plus deal with the Chicago Cubs, a Cupfidential episode if it hasn't happened already. But I know all of his coaches are under contract with Milwaukee. Owner Mark Antanasio says he won't let them leave. Counsell in 9 seasons compiled a 707, 625 with a 531 percentage, above 500, 6 of 9 seasons with 5 season berth. Well, we got 2 confidential guys on here, so the topic is definitely timely enough for these guys. All right, Jacob, what's your take about Counsell going down I-94?
Well, I will tell you this right now. That was a big shock to JB and I. Big shock. Because we didn't think that Jed Hoyer was going to do anything. We didn't think they're going to do something like that. They're going to keep David Ross another year, which would have been a mistake. And he had 1 year left on his contract, but the guy, he's just not going to do much more. So all of us, they said they were going to make a splash. Do you believe it? You don't until a thing, but boy, they sure did. And guess what now? They're saying, and I'm not sure if this happens or not, but they're saying that they're trying to be aggressive to get Ohtani. Now, yeah, I was reading up on that. Now, the thing being, even if you don't get him, this is a change now. Second part of change in life. The first part of change is when Dusty Baker was there, and I've got a whole article on that. I've got a whole column on that. And it's like what changed when he came. The second part in life is this type of thing. Now you're going to get aggressive. Now you can be regular World Series contenders and not just the one that broke it all. So the big thing about it is you can get and if nothing else, you can get a Juan Soto who walks a ton and gets on base all the time. You can go get any kind of different ones that you want, and maybe get another pitcher. I know they picked up the option for Kyle Hendricks, which my favorite pitcher, I'll admit, but not sure he's going to get much better than this anymore. That's the whole point, just the certain things. But I hope they pick up a couple others now they've lost Stroman and go pick up some big names there. So overall, I feel like this is a big thing for the future.
Okay, George?
Yeah, I was surprised too by the move, but I'll tell you what, I mean, this guy has got to go for the contract and to support his career and his family also. I mean, the money that was there, and let's face it, they put this money in front of the athletes, and then sometimes they put it in front of the coaches and the managers too. And we had a situation, and again, I know you don't want me to keep talking about Detroit, but we had a nice man, Les Moss. Oh, good man. Yeah, good manager. Well, behind his back, owner John Fetzer and GM Jim Campbell went and hired George Sparky Anderson. And so, hey, listen, I've lived through this before. I've seen the Red Wings go after Jacques Demers and Scotty Bowman. Hey, listen, if a manager comes available, whatever was going on behind the scenes, obviously, he was putting his feelers out or whatever. I mean, I can't blame him one bit. I feel sorry for Milwaukee. I've always liked that team. He's done a marvelous job there. I just, I always root for, I like the Cubs too, but I think it's a bold move, but I think it was a necessary move, at least from the Cubs' perspective. They had to get somebody that had that kind of name, value, and, career aspirations.
Well, JB, you live in the area.
So this was a genius move. We spoke about it on Confidential earlier tonight. Nobody expected it, but I had the opportunity to talk to Tom Ricketts at the Hall of Fame and, just tell him I like what they're doing, the way the team is trending. And this shows exactly what I was saying. They went after the key free agent when they got Bellinger last year. They signed him cautiously to a one-year deal. They brought in Dansby, and they made the right moves with that. This is just following in that right direction. Ross was not the right fit as manager. I've been saying that for 2 years. I'm sure Jacob must be tired of me saying that. Thank God I never have to say it again.
With you the whole time.
I'll never have to say that again. And they went out there and they got the guy they think that could take them to where they want to go. And, this will help them in going after free agents. It'll show that they have the money to spend. If you're spending $8 million on your manager, you're going to spend the right amount of money to get the right guys to get you to that next. I think they're going to be a team to watch for the next few years.
Mike?
So after 24 hours of getting to deliberate on a bit, I'm less shocked that it happened. I'm more surprised that the Cubs actually pulled the trigger and did it. I guess I'm shocked, still in a little bit odd. I thought he was going to stay. I thought he was really happy in Milwaukee. So it just shows that we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I am kind of surprised that I'm not surprised. I'd be interested to see the staff he puts together. But in retrospect, as far as the Cubs are concerned, you have to be elated. I mean, this is by far the best guy out there on the market with the track record that he has. And from what everybody's saying is everybody loves him. So am I surprised that he left Milwaukee? Yeah. Am I surprised he went to Chicago? Yeah. But all in all, it's a genius move for the Cubs. It shows that they are trending in the right direction, that they're making the right moves, as JB said. It's just another building piece in the last couple of years of the right steps. And no, I don't think keeping the manager again this year was going to help anybody. I think he's run his course. So I think bringing in Counsell is the right move, and I think the Cubs are better for it.
I think the one thing that I really believe in is this, okay? Counsell wasn't only doing it for himself. He was doing it to reset the manager's market for payroll. And I give the man a lot of credit. When I look at some of the college basketball and other sports, paying what their managers and coaches are. Baseball, many of them are vastly underpaid compared to other sports. I think I read something like Bill Self had like a $13 million contract over at Kansas. And meanwhile, Craig Counsell is looking at a deal about $8 million plus. That to me, I think Craig Counsell's, I understand Bill Self's worth out in Kansas, but to me, Counsell was setting the manager's market to see if he can raise the standards of what these managers are really truly worth. Remember, these guys only have a 162 game season, more than any other sport out there. And if you're lucky enough to get to the postseason, you add more. And of course, you have spring training. So what do we got? Close to 200 games a year, right? And you look at the pay plan in its sense. So more power to Craig. I also don't have a problem with the guy uprooting his family if that's what he plans to do. So Craig, more power to you. You took the money, you ran, and you were looking to get a raise, and you deserve it. And you know what? Based on the stats I just talked about, and I'm going to say them one more time to justify the value that the Ricketts family made. Talking about 9 seasons with the Brewers, okay, the all-time winningest manager when he left the place at 707 625, above 500, 6 of 9 seasons, and 5. That's pretty good for that market. Now, again, the intrigue will be who they hire. More power to Craig, and I hope that they're able to reset the managerial market, and Craig is the one that will go down and do it. Remember, once upon a time, Curt Flood, okay, was looking for what do you call it, free agency and some kind of, and it ultimately worked. But I'm going to go back to what George said, because I remember this, and this is one time I'm glad you made the Detroit reference. Les Moss went through the Tigers farm system, but when Sparky Anderson came, they had no choice but to jump on him, because I think the Yankees are going to go after him, and the Tigers got to him first. So great reactions from each and every one of you. Yeah, it's unbelievable. All right, well, what we're going to do is I got one more topic of the night, and then I'm going to let everybody have their own parting shot. All right, fair enough?
Yep.
The Miami Dolphins, Kansas City Chiefs is the most watched NFL Network international game on record. Viewership 9.6 million across TV and digital, up 66% versus week 10 during the Munich game. All right, Jacob, we all know that football is growing globally, but these numbers are staggering.
Oh, yeah. And this is the big thing. When this first happened going across the world, like England, you're doing Germany, Mexico, all this kind of stuff, it could be any game, because you're just trying to show the NFL. You know what you had last week? A really fun Kansas City Miami game. Those are cool teams. And I'm glad that it's making its way now as far as across the world, because that means you're only going to have the very best games in those items. You're not going to see Thursday night. We're going to be seeing, as much as I love the Bears and the Panthers. Horrible.
Race to the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No kidding.
We love those Thursday night matchups. Don't
my God. And we get to see Al Michaels do this, 2nd down, 3. And it's a run. Yay. And he gets $1 billion for doing that. But no, guess what? On Thursday night, it's forever going to be horrible games. It's going to be the bastard stepchild, if you will. It's going to be. But these games, 9 million, that's because you have cool teams with cool offenses, with cool everything in a new world. It is 2 Ferraris going at it. That's what it is. That is what, if these, what that's going to mean is everybody that goes across the world. See, next week it's going to be boring. It's going to be the Indianapolis and the New England. That's just set from that thing. After what you see, and then when you see the ratings going to kind of go down from that, they're going to bring in the very best. And they might even flex the game, to make sure it's the best. It's just, it might be inconsiderate for the players, but they're just going to get that, because to get that stuff, you want to get the best around. And that's what that game needs to be. Germany, England, all that kind of stuff. If you want to get it across the world, you don't want Indianapolis and New England 2-7.
Okay. George?
Well, unless Jacob has an insider on the NFL competition committee, which I don't believe he has.
Nah.
Jacob, you know this, that they're scheduling these games years in advance. Okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. From a fan's perspective, you would hope that there would be more Miami KC matchups, But the fact of the matter is, it's on a rotation basis. Of course, there's the exception. Jacksonville obviously plays there a lot, and that's the exception. But this year, for example, it was down to Detroit or Miami. And I don't know, the Lions weren't, I don't know, they'll get theirs next year, as from all indications, because they haven't gone to Europe in quite a while. But the fact of the matter is sometimes the league would like these to be premier matchups, but they can't be because it's this rotation that's going on when they go to Europe or they go, to London or to Germany. That being said, it was a hell of a game, a hell of a matchup. And obviously it was one for the record books, like you said, Scott, the record viewership. But as far as I know I like the trend that you propose, Jacob, but right now that's not the way it's set up, at least until the competition committee takes another look at it.
JB?
That's it.
JB?
I mean, who wouldn't want to watch the number one offense against the number one team in the NFL? Unfortunately, Miami could only be talked about as the number one offense because they haven't beaten anybody good, and they threw up 70 points against Denver. But, it's the story. You got Tyreek Hill, who played in Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Who doesn't want to watch that?
Right.
It's, I'm not talking about us five. We'd watch whatever game you put on. It doesn't matter what two teams are on it. I'm sure we all watch the Jets Chargers Monday night, and we're all going to watch the Bears Panthers Thursday night because we watch all the game. But the casual fan, that was a dream matchup. It can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
So I think the NFL got lucky the way the rotation worked out. It worked out perfectly in their favor, and it gave them a great spotlight.
Big Mike?
Well, I think what those numbers do more than anything is it gives the NFL more incentive to say, hey, sometime in the next decade, we need a team in London. Let's be honest. That's what it's setting up, because if you do the rotation, you just take a rotation of teams that are going to go over. And what you do is whoever plays whatever team is in London or whatever team ends up in London, when they're the home team, whoever comes over, they get the bye week the next week. There's a way to rationalize out the schedule that doesn't punish anybody for going over there. And I just think the numbers are so massive, and you're seeing, what's funny is, you saw a lot of Miami and Kansas City jerseys. I saw Bengals jerseys. I saw Rams jerseys. You saw jerseys of every NFL team at all of these games that were over there. So NFL is, starting to print their own money as far as the TV deals and everything else. So to me, the numbers just point to, guess what? It is very viable for us now. 5 years ago, it was kind of gimmicky. They were doing it. The fields were garbage. These games were like 6-3 because the guys couldn't keep their footing. The stadiums wouldn't hold up to their kind of pressure on the turf and such. But when you get games like this, where it turns out to where it's a 7-point score ball game late in the game, and you have 9 million viewers, the NFL is going to find a way to do that on what is it? 4 games this year? I think 4 or 5 games. How much of a stretch is it to play 8 games there then and have a team full time in London and have that as a base of your NFL division? So I see it coming. It's great for the NFL. It was great for fans. It was great for fans over there. And in the end, I just think it paves the way for an NFL team overseas.
All right. Let me point out a couple of things. Number one, it's worth noting, Joe already alluded to it. The Dolphins are 6-0 against teams that don't have winning records and 0-3 against teams that do have winning records. It's a fact, period. Now, here's what you have. You have a 17-game schedule, and the players were reluctant to do it. But here's what I see down the road by the time you hit the next collective bargaining agreement. You're going to have another USFL too. What do I mean by that? You're going to have 2 regular season games and 18 games. Now, you can do what you want with those other 2 games, but I wouldn't be surprised if that all leads to more international games overseas. And you never know how many more international markets you're going to get. Again, mind you, is it hypothetical? Yeah, but let's face the reality. When you look at the NFL exhibition over the years, I think they once had 8, then they went down to 6, and they went down to 4, and now they've gone down to 3. It's inevitable they're going to hit 2. Then you're going to have an even number anyways with regular season games. And if that doesn't even matter, you got the Canadian Football League that has, an 18 game schedule. So we went to the 17 to get ready to go to the 18. So yeah, there's no question that you have a marquee matchup there with Miami and Kansas City. I'm sure the Kansas City Chiefs would have loved to have had Tyreek Hill at Arrowhead Stadium. Didn't quite work out that way. This is how the dominoes dropped. And Tyreek, I'm sure, would have been received pretty well over there. But yeah, you had a marquee football game, and the numbers speak for themselves. So,
And
all right.
Scott, just real quick with the whole international thing, with Mike saying adding a team, I love the idea of trying to do that, but I think one team wouldn't be viable. You'd have to do a 4-team division, and to even it out, you'd have to find another way to do it. So you'd have to basically do like a Mexico and Canada, have like another 4 teams there, because then you get 4 and 4 in both conferences. And then you have the teams that, head to Europe. Pretty much every team would end up going there. They play within their own division twice a year, so that cuts down the travel. I think that would be the way to go. You can put a team in Germany, put a team in England, and then figure out what other 2 places. Maybe you put, 2 in Germany, because Germany's pretty big. But you can find a spot for 4 teams in Europe. And then you can find, definitely. And then you could do Mexico City. I'm sure they would love that. And you'd have to kind of figure out where in Canada, just, that would be the issue.
You're never going to get Toronto, JB, because it's right next to Buffalo. But Montreal would be fair game. I think Montreal would, whether we like it or not. Now, Joe, you make a great point. And I'll tell you why you make a really, really good point. Once upon a time, you had the World League of American Football. It really was. I know a lot of coaches that were there and administrators. I won't get into names. It's really not necessary. But you did have that. The only problem was it was a little too expensive for the NFL to go ahead and maintain. So I could definitely see your point, having 4 teams in Europe if they decide to go that route, and maybe 2 here in North America, Mexico being one. And then I guess it's really, I don't think you'd ever get Toronto. I really don't. Montreal or maybe Vancouver would be the other one. I don't know. I mean, that's just speculation on my part. But I'm just trying to validate Joe. Not that you need to be validated anyways, because I think the point's great about where we could possibly put these teams. That's all I'm saying. So I think, again, they're doing a marvelous job to begin with the international games. But I think the most realistic possibility now, without the expansion guys, would be, you go to 18, but then each team's required to play 2 games in Europe for now. And then you have 8 and 8. Of course, if the Jacksonville Jaguars had their play, they may be playing more than that. And we don't even know what's going to happen with their stadium situation to begin with, because they have to remodel it. So, there's a little variable out there. So, but, I really like talking about international, because we see how much it's really ratcheted up. And again, Mike makes a really good point. You got jerseys from every team in all these venues, so it doesn't matter. The reality is they like American football. And, when we even look on Twitter, I look at how many NFL UK accounts there are. That's just mind-boggling. It's really crazy. So,
there's an actual rumor online right now that says if Jacksonville has to remodel that stadium, that they may be the test subject and may be a team that does play. That's the rumor. Is the conspiracy theories were that's why they played 2 games there back to back, was to give them a feeling of what it would be like to have to be there long term. And so they may be a team that, hey, if they don't get the stadium deal done or it has to be remodeled and they don't want to play in a college or another stadium, that who knows, we could see them play 6-8 games over there.
Well, you know what, Mike, that doesn't surprise me one bit. I think you're really right with the 2. Joe, did you want to add something to this?
Well, I mean, with the 2 weeks, I mean, that makes sense, because, if they're playing their whole 8-game season, home season there, they're not going to fly back and forth 6 different times. They're going to play back-to-back games 4 times, or have a 3-game homestand, go on the road, come back for 3, because they're going to want to decrease their travel as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, maybe one night we'll talk about a subject about where the Jaguars should go. That's an idea down the road, but I know where you're coming from, Mike. I've dealt with the Jacksonville situation for a while, and they depended on those London games just to break even and make a little bit money for the year. That's what Shad Khan's done. Great point, though. All right, now we're actually going to go to parting shots. Great pace here. So I'm going to actually lead off with one. I picked on Philadelphia last week. I'm going to do it again. Okay, ready? The Philadelphia Flyers are the only team in NHL history to lose twice to teams that were winless 10 plus games into the year. You ready for this? 2017, 2018, the Arizona Coyotes did it. And last night, you had the San Jose Sharks are 0-10-1. You know what? Once upon a time, they were the Broad Street Bullies. You can characterize them anytime you want, but if you're 0-10, you definitely want to feel that that's a city of brotherly love if you're looking to snap that losing streak. So that's my parting shot.
No. I'm going to say this to you. There was a time with George Zaharias and the Babe Dickerson Zaharias. There was a quote that she once said. It was like, I thought he was a Greek god. Now he's a damn Greek. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And it's like, now this is the same thing. They were once the Broad Street Bullies. Now they get bullied by the Broads.
You know what? Jacob, do me a favor, okay? Don't mess up my parting shot. That's a statistic. That's a stat. That's something that what we pride ourselves here is we educate, inform, and we entertain. And I don't know, when you keep messing up my parting shot, that's a hard fact, pal. And that's what I preach in my book. But you know what, Jacob, you do this just to get under my skin every week by trying to get under to mess up my parting shot. I don't care anyways. It's all fun to begin with. But yeah, I mean, think about it. The Arizona Coyotes and the San Jose Sharks go to Philadelphia, snap long 10-game losing streaks. That's mine. All right, Jacob, since you really wanted to get a piece of my action, what's yours?
Well, I thought my parting shot was going to be about Quincy High School. My alma mater is in the quarterfinal round, first time ever, but not tonight because I found another one. Emma Hirschberger, Highland High School. That's farm country around that Highland, Illinois. Those type of ones because she's a softball player there at Highland High. Those types normally, when you see their letter of intent, when you see the little show with their letter of intent and everything. Normally, it's Lindenwood. It's, go to Culver Stockton. We have a place in Canton, Illinois. Canton, Missouri. Let's see, Culver Stockton, Hannibal LaGrange. It's usually those little local areas. She just did one today from this little bitty town, Cornell University, Ivy League. She did it. And it's like, from what I hear, it's a phenomenal, hardworking family. They've gotten her raised right. So a farm girl's going to go in the middle of all that. You know what I'm saying? And another one, Skylar Thompson, who was in Miami Dolphins and won a playoff game last year. His dad coached at Palmyra, Missouri. So he's been from that farm area too. This is showing me something to everything. The world's changing. Everybody wants to fly. Everybody wants to fly, clip their wings and fly. You know what I'm saying? They want to clip the stuff and they want to fly away and be able to do these type of deals. Not everybody's just going to stay close to home anymore. This isn't Mayberry. Everybody's saying, and it's like, this is a competitive world. Get ready for it.
George?
Well, my parting shot is, again, the national media, again, on the Jim Harbaugh and University of Michigan Wolverine story. Everybody wants to jump to conclusions. Everybody wants to suspend the guy or penalize the team or take this away or take that away. And now there's a lot of pressure on the Big Ten. So the facts have to come out. We've said this before on other shows on your platform, Scott. We've said it before, but most people don't have the patience. They want instant gratification. They want instant punishment. And I'm not here to back up if he did something illegal or wrong. All I'm here to say is get the facts. Get the facts. Frank Reynolds had to get the facts. How upset he was when President Reagan was shot, and then somebody came on the air and said that Jim Brady was dead. And I'll never forget Frank's reaction, how upset he was in that newsroom at ABC. But this is not that situation. This is not life and death. But putting all this pressure on the Big Ten and the NCAA, they got to take their time and get through it. You want to penalize them because they're undefeated? That's BS.
Sure. Okay, JB?
So an article came out 8:35 tonight. Ohio State's Ryan Day denies giving Michigan sign sides to Purdue before the Big Ten title game. Are you kidding me? What a disgusting organization. And to top it off, an even better one, Rutgers is also named in the article that they also provided Purdue with Michigan sides. Two trash schools that, if the Big Ten didn't need Ohio State because you have the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, get rid of them. They're garbage anyway. And Rutgers, seriously, when was the last time they were good with anything? Giano, horrible coach, piece of garbage, stealing sides. You're going to say Harbaugh did it? Now you guys are implicated? Just trash. How about we just play the game? Is it that difficult to just coach your guys? How much do these guys get paid? And you're going to sit there and say, oh, Jim Harbaugh, but yet meanwhile, you're doing the same damn thing. Don't look in the mirror if you stand there if you don't have anything, if it doesn't come back to you. These guys are losers. This is what's wrong with sports. You have people that cheat, lie, and steal. How about just be honest and coach the damn kids? Bad enough the recruiting's been fraudulent for years through all these schools, not just, the top echelons. It was all under the table. Guys were getting investigated by the FBI, the coaches. Adidas was involved with it at one point. But now you're stealing sides. Can't you just friggin' coach people? That's what you get paid to do. Enough is enough with these frauds.
Excellent point. And you know what? I have an update on Michigan in a moment, but I'm going to go to Mike first.
Well, my parting shot today is the race for the bottom tomorrow needs to be won by the Bears. The Bears need to make sure that they win that game tomorrow, because in classic Bears fashion, if they don't win the game, they screw themselves 6 ways from sideways by giving the team whose first pick they have a win. So let's go out there tomorrow, guys. Not only that, I want to see Badgett get another win. I want to see Badgett be the winning quarterback. But please, oh please, let's not screw this up tomorrow night. And the Bears beat Carolina and secure themselves a 1-game tiebreaker, no matter what, at the end of the season for the number 1 pick. At least we know if we end up with the same record at the end of the season that we beat Carolina, so they take that first pick above us because it's ours. And all we do by losing this game is hurt ourselves in the end, which unfortunately, as a Bears fan, I've become all too accustomed. So the race from the bottom tomorrow night, the Bears have to come out on top.
All right. Now, this report came out 2 hours ago, and it came from the Associated Press about Michigan. Michigan tells Big Ten commish he doesn't have the discipline or the authority. So I'm going to read on a little bit, and George just might add a little bit to what you're talking about, try to add a little light to the whole thing. Okay, and that's this. The University of Michigan warned Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti about overstepping his authority and rushing to judgment, insisting Wednesday that he cannot discipline Jim Harbaugh under the conference's sportsmanship policy for an alleged sign-stealing scheme that has rocked college football. Parts of the blistering 10-page letter sent Petitti were shared by the Associated Press by 2 people who have seen it and spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized by the school to disclose its contents. The letter is Michigan's response to Big Ten's notification of potential discipline of Harbaugh's undefeated second-ranked team, which is among the favorites to win the national championships. So, there's a little take. I guess the way I'm going to react to this is the way I've done it when I've spoken before. Due process, folks, okay? Let this thing play out. How many times have we seen situations in college where you've gone out there and came down on a program and all of a sudden mistakes were made? I think there's a big mistake waiting here. Too many people are jumping in. Maybe there's a lot of Michigan haters, but then again, when you're winning, lots of people like to hate you anyway. So, and another interesting storyline that I want to bring up, and this one's actually a much better feel-good story, that the LA Angels have hired Ron Washington as a manager on a 2-year deal. Very quickly, okay, before we close this show out. Jacob, Ron Washington has another chance. He's 71 years old, but he deserves it. And it's good that yet another African-American will have an opportunity to lead a team. But this guy's had guided Texas to some of his best years. Give me quick takes before we call it a night.
Oh, yeah. And he's been here in Atlanta through this time. And here's the thing, 71's a different 70. They're all different. Dusty's was different. This guy's really different because at least Dusty has bad knees. He looks like he's limping his way along, but he's just active, but he looks his age. I mean, you take one look. We've been close to a few games. I've been to a few games with Ron Washington around. The dude's jacked. He's 70 and jacked. It's like it's a different type of 70. He's got all the energy in the world to do this. And yes, he had led some good Texas teams. He can do this. There's no question about it.
George, what's your reaction to this?
Oh, I'm happy for him. As when Texas was battling the Tigers in some of those postseason matchups, I've always admired Ronnie. A good manager. That was a great manager clash between Washington and Leland, and he did, like you said, Jacob. He did a good job down in Texas with the Rangers, and I'm all for it. I'm glad he got this opportunity with the Angels.
JB?
Listen, he's a great guy. Glad to see, he got the job. He's well liked. He's been around baseball a long time. And I don't think anyone has anything bad to say about Ron Washington.
And Mike?
No, it's a great hire. I do say one thing. I like Ron Washington. I will be interested to see what that team looks like once he's actually behind the wheel next year, because who knows what that roster looks like, what pieces are there, what pieces aren't there. But at 71, you just said it right. Dude's jacked. I mean, if I look like that at 71, I'm over the moon. But great guy, great baseball mind, liked by everybody. So congratulations to him for getting another shot, and congratulations to the Angels for hiring him.
Yeah, I agree with you all the way. I think this is an excellent hire, but the Angels were looking for a veteran manager all along anyways. I know they looked at Buck Showalter. Showalter to me would be a good choice. I still think he should get one more managerial job, but keeping the focus on Ron Washington, he's been a winner, and what they need is a very stabilizing influence for that team because they're during an unsettled period. We don't know what's going to happen with Shohei Ohtani and the rest of the roster. You don't know if Mike Trout will ever stay healthy for an entire year. So there's probably a lot more questions than answers. So, all right, well, now is the point where we let everybody have an opportunity to get to find us. So go ahead, Jacob, give it to us.
Oh, I am Jake the Pundit I'm Jake the Pundit on Twitter, Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok. I am Jacob Christner on Facebook and on the LinkedIn. I am also on Ricochet. I am on Substack sometimes, and I'm working on another one for you on the not Motor City. I'm sorry, the South Florida Tribune. And then I'm working on. I'm here and there doing some acting with some movies. Sunday mornings with you with the Profession of Pupils. Mondays is the Top Rope Talk with Sniper and the Pundit. Wednesdays is Confidential in this show. Thursdays is Pundit's Pundit, and I'm a backup on a couple others.
Surprised you're not on MySpace still with the list you gave out there, buddy.
Yeah, that's a grocery list. I don't know what the grocery stores are in Atlanta, but that's a good grocery list. Thankfully, I allowed enough time for it tonight anyways. So, George, I'm glad you brought up the Frank Reynolds reference because that's something that's heavily mentioned in Lessons from the Microphone, my book. So go ahead, George.
Awesome. Yeah. They can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. Can reach me on LinkedIn under my name. Can reach me on Twitter, or X as they call it, SandG Sports 99. There's a link to my book called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air at the end of my column. You can read me on the South Florida Tribune and then drill down to the Motor City Tribune. Glad to be a writer there along with Scott and Jeremy and Mr. Pundit himself here. And so looking forward to seeing you all on 108 Stitches and Inside the Pigskin, Pundit's Pundit, Sports Exchange, and wherever else you need me. Hey, it's been great working with you guys tonight. Great show.
Okay, JB.
JB_ the program on X, Twitter, whatever it's called. Sideline Sports every Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern. NFL alumni, WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta. 7 a.m. every Wednesday, and the NFL pregame show on Sundays, 12 to 1. And plenty other shows throughout the week on Sideline Sports.
Very good. And of course, you're a regular here on Sports Exchange and do a wonderful job helping us on it with our social media. We're really delighted to have Sideline Sports as our partners. And as I told you, tell them a little bit about your website real quickly, Joe.
So, I mean, we're developing the website, which will have articles, some video, and different things. A better way to follow all the personalities of Sideline Sports and the different shows we have.
Okay. All right, Mike.
Oh, you can find me here on Tuesdays on 108 Stitches, Wednesdays here on the Sports Exchange, and then online if you want to get a hold of me or have any comments for me at X, aka Twitter, at CalL99. And if anybody understands ever why, it's because I got some stupid Superman tattoo in my 20s and it's just stuck. So that's the unfortunate part.
All right, and on our end, just so you know, Pundit, it will be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern time, followed by Fire Up. Just so you know, one last time here, the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button in YouTube, South Florida Tribune. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat rooms one way, or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter/X @Tribune South. Candy Ebling's Behind the Scenes. My book is just a media book. Then again, anybody can read it. Okay, Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. And it is now available on Anaheim. So on behalf of Jake Pundit, Jake the Pundit, okay, George Eichhorn, JB Ellis, and Big Mike, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange.